How you going, my fellow monks? Hybridge here. Today I'm going to be doing a patch rundown and a tier list. Before I jump straight into the tier list, I'm going to go through three things that I think are relevant in this patch. Number one, Tab Eyes is getting buffed, so you're going to get 2% more plating damage reduction, and Mercs is getting nerfed. So I think now if you're unsure as to whether to go Tab Eyes or whether to go Mercs, start going plated Seal Caps. Number two, Lethal Tempo is back. I think Lethal Tempo is completely garbage right now. If you watch the Beowulf guide, you've seen the stats. Lethal Tempo is much worse than Conqueror or Press the Attack in almost any scenario. The only champion I can see you taking it on is probably Master Yi, because you alter so much. But if you're playing Beowulf, Kindred, I think it's just so bad right now, there's no point taking it. Third thing to take note of is Nimbus Cloak is getting massively buffed. The Nimbus Cloak buff is pretty much doubling the bonus movement speed you get early on, and it's adding it by 10% later on. So I think this is an insane buff, and if you're taking Sorcery, always go Nimbus Cloak. I think it's even good in Volibear for all you volley enjoyers out there. Okay, so the first class of champions we're going to be talking about are AP champions. So if you look here, what Riot targeted was AP damage, item scaling. I think the tier class, if I would give it a class, it would be B tier. I think AP champions are kind of B tier now. Reasoning is that you don't one-shot people after one item like you used to, and I think that's kind of how you have to play AP champions. If you can't really do that, then you're not that strong. That's just kind of my theory. First time we're going to be doing is Gwen. I think Gwen is decent. Probably the strongest AP champion right now, because the Nashor's nerf doesn't really hit her too hard, and the Riftmaker nerf is whatever. Like, she's strong even without the extra 2%, right? So if you look here, here's the Riftmaker nerf. I don't think losing one stack is that big of a deal. So I'm going to put her on A tier still, because another thing for Gwen that I think is different to other AP champions is you don't really need items to be strong. Like, if you ever played Gwen jungle, you know you don't need, like, Nashor's Tooth is great. Nashor's Tooth allows you to 1v3. But without Nashor's, you can still win any 1v1. You can take objectives quickly without Nashor's. I think she's still very strong in this meta. And the fact that they didn't increase Nashor's gold means she can still get the same time. So I think, honestly, this patch doesn't really hit Gwen too hard. I'm going to put Gwen in the back of S tier / the top of A tier. We'll see in a second, but for now I'm going to put her at the back of S tier. Second one is going to be Lilia. I think Lilia, honestly, despite what you guys might say, I think she's kind of not hit too hard as well. Like, there's two main items I think you need to watch it as if you're a Lilia player. Number one, Riftmaker. Number two, Liandry's. So Liandry's nerf minus 20 AP. Sounds like a lot. But if you think about it, they didn't nerf the passive, which is what Lilia uses. The 20 AP is whatever. Like, the 20 AP doesn't do much. What Lilia cares about is the burn damage. So if the burn damage is fine, then she doesn't get hit too hard. So Lilia, I think, is going to be A tier. I wouldn't keep her. I wouldn't put her in S tier like I did last patch or last split, just because I think, obviously, saying that she doesn't get affected by the AP nerfs isn't completely true, right? She still gets hit a bit by it, but compared to what other champions are experiencing from the other items, I think it's like minimal. Other thing about Lilia is the new Cosmic Drive passive is going to be insane on her. So you get 20 movement speed for 4 seconds every time you deal magic or true damage to people. So having that item kind of balances out the nerfs. So I think she's still very strong. She's going to be for sure be at the peak of solo queue. So I'll put her around A tier. Sorry, this thing keeps moving in and out. I wish I had a way to stop it. Third thing is Brand. I think Brand is going to be... Brand is always going to be strong, but losing AP, not having the AP scaling for your passive on Brand is kind of sucks. So I think, you know, Rabadon's losing AP, Rylai's losing AP, Liandry's losing AP, all kind of hits Brand. So I'm going to kind of move... Actually, what if I just do this? And then that. That. And then... Okay, that's actually perfect. I should do it like this. So I think Brand, kind of B tier, probably top of B tier, but kind of unsure, because losing a bit of AP doesn't hurt too much, right? Like pretty much all items are losing damage, so it's not gonna be too impactful. I feel like he's gonna be top of B tier / back of A tier. Talia, I think, is gonna be mid B tier. I think this champion wasn't that good last split. These nerfs don't help her, but they don't hurt her as well. And I feel like you can abuse a Cosmic Drive on Talia, so it's you're kind of gonna be fine. The main thing for Talia is that you can't one-shot people right after one item like you used to. So I think that sucks, right? But actually, the Blackfire Torch kind of has stronger early game now. So maybe, like, I'm not too sure. It's hard to tell when you haven't tested, but I think you might have a good spike after your first item for a second, but then you start noticing that she's going to be substantially weaker after the second item. I've only played her once on Tournament Realm for scrims in the upcoming tournament, but from what I've played, I think she's alright. I don't think she's too weak, I don't think she's too good. Next one is going to be the most complex one, which is Elise. So if you didn't know, Elise is getting a complete buff here, or rework-ish here. So pretty much they're buffing the ult, they're buffing the E, they're buffing the Q. So Elise is, you might think, oh, Elise is going to be OP. No, you know why? Because Elise plays Lich Bane. And you're going to notice this in every single class. So in AP champs, in Assassins, in Bruisers, there's one item that was completely OP that's getting giga nerfed. And for AP champions, it's Lich Bane. If you look here, Lich Bane is losing 15 AP, 5 ability haste, 4% movement speed, and the passive is losing 5% AP scaling on it. So I think despite the buffs, I can only put Elise in mid B tier. Because Lich Bane, any champion that uses Lich Bane is pretty much gutted right now. And you'll see that Nidalee uses Lich Bane, but you can also go Liandry's on it. The reason why I'm going to put him behind to... Actually, I'll put him in front of Talia. The reason why I'm going to put him this low, is because unlike Lilia, she cares a lot about the damage. She doesn't care about the burn. She cares about damage. So losing 20 AP right here on Liandry's is massive for her. And also, you can never go Lich Bane first item now, because this build is just terrible. You lose so much now. Like, Lich Bane is a terrible item. So you don't go Lich Bane. You have to go to Liandry's into Horizon Focus build. But I think you lose too much AP now for that to make you a strong champion. So I'm going to put Nidalee mid B tier. Finally, that champion is getting nerfed. We're all happy. Next champion is Diana. I think Diana is a bit of a confusing one because you don't get hit too hard with the Nashor's nerfs. Like, sure, they suck, right? But they don't do that much. Main thing is you can't go Lich Bane anymore, right? So I think I'm going to put Diana kind of behind the brand. Because I always feel like... So there used to be two pathways you could build, right? Lich Bane into Nashor's into damage. Now you can only go Nashor's into tank. And I think that build path just sucks, if I'm being honest. I think the only person that can kind of pull it off is Agurin. And even he doesn't play that build path. So I think if you're forced to go that build path, at best you're a B tier champion, you know? Like, maybe I'm going to even put Nidalee above her, actually. I think Elise above her as well. I just think they're not that strong. Zyra, I think B tier as well. I'd probably put her in front of Talia, in front of Diana. I think the good thing, actually no, I'll put her way up here in front of Brand as well. The good thing about Zyra is that you don't need the damage from your items because you have high base damage. So Liandry's nerf doesn't really hit her too hard, right? Because if you have proper setup, you're going to one-shot them anyway. You're going to chunk them hard anyway, right? So I think you're fine with that. The Rylai's nerf doesn't nerf the slow. So again, that's what Zyra uses. See, this is the thing when I'm making these tier lists, you got to think about what do the item nerfs mean? Like, which component of it do the champions use? And I think Zyra, the component Zyra uses doesn't really get nerfed. The reason I'm putting her B tier instead of A tier is I feel like she's quite hard to play in a sense, right? So like, I think you need to have good understanding of the game. So I think it's the skill is not worth the reward. So I don't think putting her A tier is worth it. Whereas like in Lydia, the skill is worth the reward because you just 1v9 if you're good at it, you know? I don't think you can 1v9 on Zyra. And I think she's much harder to play compared to any champion here. Nidalee maybe is a bit harder, but still. Fiddlesticks A tier. I think Malignance, this buff, people say it's a nerf. I mean it's a buff. Because if you think about the champions that use Malignance, actually I didn't pull Karthus here, I just realized. I didn't put Echo as well. Karthus and whatchamacallit? So Karthus and Fiddlesticks, they don't really care about ability haste too much. Like Fiddle probably cares a bit more because you have a fear, but Karthus could not care less if he has ability haste, right? So I think the Malignance thing, giving you 5 AP for 10 haste, is actually a buff for some of the champions. Oh, actually, let me shorten this so you guys can see the full tier list. Let me make my camera a bit smaller, sorry. So I've got technical difficulties, guys. I've lost my network for like... I don't have a network. I'm using my data right now even. But yeah, this is this right now. So I think the Malignant nerf kind of hits Fiddlesticks harder than Karthus, but doesn't really hurt him too much. As for the other items, Liandry's AP nerf doesn't hurt him too much because I feel like once you ult onto someone, you're pretty much going to guarantee kill them anyway, right? So that nerf doesn't hit him too hard. Rabadon's nerf, again, doesn't hit him too hard. So I think you can put him there. Zhonya's nerf, they're not nerfing the cooldown of Zhonya's. So again, doesn't hit Fiddle too hard. So he's still A tier. Probably going to put him above Lily, actually. Because this champion is broken. Silas D tier. The only reason Silas was ever good was because of Lich Bane. The fact that this item is completely gutted now, I mean, this guy's also gutted, so he's D tier. Morgana, I'm going to put her in front of, actually around here. I think Morgana is decent champion, right? Because you don't really need items to do damage, so that's one good thing. But then if you look at the items she uses, all of them are getting nerfed. Liandry's, Blackfire Torch, Zhonya's. The AP scaling is completely gone. And I feel like later, sure, you'll be fine at the start, right? You're going to do well at the start. But once you get to 3-4 items, you're going to start getting outscaled by Bruiser champions. And she's just not going to be a good champion if that happens. So that's why I'm putting her where I'm putting her. Karthus is going to be a bit controversial, but I'm putting him in top of B tier. Malignant's nerf doesn't hit Karthus at all. Horizon Focus hurts him a bit, but again, I feel like you can still play it. The fact that Zhonya's gets hit for AP isn't great. Deathcap gets for AP isn't great. Blackfire Torch getting hit for AP scaling isn't great, right? But I think, given that all champions are suffering like insane amounts, the fact that Shadow Flame isn't getting hit too hard means Karthus is in a decent spot. So I think, and I also think he's quite easy to play. So I don't think he should ever be mid B tier. So I'm going to put him at the start B tier. Echo, C tier. I mean, his entire kit is built on using Lich Bane. If he doesn't use Lich Bane, he uses Nashers. I don't think you can get the one-shot of Nashers, if I'm being honest. And I feel like if you don't one-shot an Echo, what are you really picking the champion for? You're one-shotting to get out. So if you can't do that, you're not really, going to be doing much in the game, in my opinion. Okay, the next class I'm going to be talking about are Assassins. I know a lot of you watching are probably Assassin players. I think this class is honestly kind of somewhat similar to AP champions. I think they're B tier. Having rights targeting damage, haste, gold efficiency, and movement speed. And I think the reason I'm going to be putting them B tier is because I think with the new item changes where gold efficiency is like significantly reduced, the fact that you get your first item later on means that you can't snowball as hard and you don't have the damage to one shot as much as you used to. The haste reduction, in Riot's own words, was to stop kind of assassins from going for plays and being able to get out. So you're kind of like a one and done. So I think it's going to mega increase the skill it takes to play the champions. And I think later on, because you can't snowball early game, in late game I think you're terrible as well, because you get stat checked. Because other champions like Bruisers and tanks will just be so much stronger than you, that doesn't matter. So I think Assassins have to, like, they're B or C tier. I think they're worse than AP champions, but I don't know if I'd go that bad. You put them C tier. So actually I put them B minus tier. That's what I'm going to put them. B minus tier. Actually, one sec. Let me fix this here first. Okay, so first champion we're going to do. Okay, by the way, as I said, in each class, one item is getting mega nerfed. In Assassins, I'll let you guess which one it is. Ding, ding, ding. It is Profane Hydra. That item was completely broken for like a year. It was finally right. Thank you, man, for nerfing this stuff. So Profane Hydra, you're paying 100 gold less, but you're losing 10 haste, which is, by the way, insane for Assassins. You're losing 100 units range for your Hydra procs. You're losing 10% AD ratio on your Hydra proc. You're losing 20% AD ratio on your active Hydra proc. And you're also losing the execute damage you used to have on your Hydra proc. So pretty much, the item isn't useless, but you only build on champions that use it. Okay, and one champion that uses it. Oh wait, it's no. I thought it was Kha'Zix. I was going to say Kha'Zix uses it, but no, Rengar uses it. Rengar does not use it, or at least not all of them do. So I think Rengar is one of those champions where it's like he's always going to be A tier. Oh wait, what is going on here? I misclicked. He's always going to be A tier, and of course, like the nerfs hit him to a certain extent, right? Yomu's nerf. Losing some movement speed hurts him, but I don't know how much it hurts him because you still outpace the enemy team because you have ult, right? So I think it doesn't hurt him too badly. Opportunity nerfs kind of sucks. You lose a bit of lethality, you lose a bit of AD, but again, I don't know how much is going to impact him. So I think these nerfs are kind of whatever to Rengar itself. And because Rengar also, the thing about Rengar is you can build bruise items. So I think the assassin item nerfs, whilst they are kind of insane, there's so many build paths you can go on Rengar that I'm not ready to put him in B tier. So I'm going to put Rengar in A tier. I think Kha'Zix, on the other hand, you have to go Yomu's, you have to go Profane Hydra, you have to go Cyrilda's. The fact that you're losing the Rancor passive on Cyrilda's is so insane, by the way, and you're losing all the Fatty. So it's like, I don't even think you can build this on Kha'Zix anymore. So I'm not sure what item you can exactly go if you need to cut down tanks. Because Cleaver is getting nerfed for 1580. Cleaver's getting nerfed for 1580. Like, you're losing so much damage potential on Kha'Zix. Like, I really think he's just mid B tier for the first time in a long time. Just because of the Profane Hydra nerfs. Like, they're massive. And obviously these items being nerfed aren't great for him either. Kayn, I'm going to put him A tier. I know I put him in the Assassins category, but I think I'm only putting him A tier if you're going Red Kayn. If you're playing Blue Kayn, you're going into B tier right away. Because the Blue Kayn items are terrible right now. So I think if you're building him Bruiser, it's fine. You can build a few lethality items here and there, but I don't think they're that great to like. I don't think you should go more than 2 lethality items. I think you can go Edge of Night, because they didn't really nerf Edge of Night too hard, and I think maybe you can go Umbro Grave. Like, I think this is still a good item. Minus 5 haste is whatever. Obviously, it sucks if you're playing Kayn, but I feel like it's still a good first item spike that you can build on Kha'Zix, you can build on Kayn. So I think if you're playing Assassins, probably still want to go it. Obviously, losing the haste isn't the best, but yeah. Qiyana, C tier. The reason is she only ever functioned as a jungle because of Profane Hydra. Now that this item is gutted, no point playing this stuff. Talon, I know he's Profane Hydra, but I'm actually going to put him top of B tier because I think even though Talon's not going to get you're not going to get your items that quickly, right? I think Talon is still good. I mean, I had him top of A tier last split. I'm going to move him down 1 tier, but I'm not going to move him down anymore because I think you can get around the map quickly. You can go for ganks well. You can clear well. You can take objectives quickly. Kind of has everything you want in a jungler. So I don't think actually, I'm going to put him back of A tier in front of Kayn. So I don't think he's that bad, but Profane Hydra definitely does mess him up a bit. Bria, this champion's always going to be C tier. It's just a flip champion. I mean, you can go in front of Echo. It's a flip champion. I think that champion is way too hard to play. And I think when you're playing against good enemies, you're always going to lose if you're playing Bria. That's just my thoughts. Some people will disagree. It's fine. But I think it's quite obvious that when you're playing this champion, if you don't get an early flip, you're just going to be behind. And Cleaver is getting nerfed. She scales heavy on AD. So losing all the AD from the assassin items hits her bad. So I don't think she's that good. Neferi, kind of same story as Qiyana. Only ever good in jungle because of Profane Hydra. Now that it's gone, she's gone as well. Good news. Shaco, I'm going to keep him in back of A tier. I think, of course, he used Profane Hydra, but I've seen a few people, and if you've been watching my stream, you know there's a mid Shaco guy built 2 lethality items into full tank and beat me. So I think you can do the same thing now. You can probably still go Umbro Glaive. You don't really need the CDR that much. And I think Edge of Night is, as I said, Edge of Night is still good. Now I just want to say one, actually I'm going to talk about it in Bruisers, when I'm talking about Bruisers. But this Eclipse nerf, I see so many people celebrating saying the item is completely gutted. It's very incorrect, by the way. I think Eclipse nerf is not that bad, but I'll talk about more in a second about Bruiser. Zed, I think it's same story, but I'm putting him in front of these champions. I think if you do not have Profane Hydra, your champion is not that strong in jungle. So I'm going to put him here. Okay, the next class of champions we're going to talk about, probably the ones, I mean, all of you that watch me probably only play these champions, but the Bruisers. Okay, so first one I'm going to be talking about is Nocturne. I think the main things you can kind of take away from Nocturne is the Hexplate nerfs, right? Minus 1580, minus 5% attack speed. That sucks, but you're more tanky. I'm not sure if you really use the 1580 and 5% attack speed. I think when you get Hexplate, you kind of win any 1v1, right? So I don't think these nerfs are as big as everyone makes it out to be. Second thing for Nocturne are the Stridebreaker nerfs. So you don't get the, where is it? Okay, so you don't get the Phage passive. You lose 1080, you lose 5% attack speed. Again, I think the Stridebreaker, like, I don't think Nocturne ever used Stridebreaker to get movement speed. I think he only used it to disrupt and slow people, so his team could hit spells, so he could disrupt. You know, I don't think these nerfs are that bad for Nocturne. as much as other people disagree. I've given you my reasoning. Sterak's nerf isn't great for Nocturne, but I think you can either not build Sterak's or you can kind of work with it. I don't think these are too bad. I think the fact that you can build Death Stance instead of Sterak's now as well was great. Like, Death Stance only got nerfed by 100 gold. Like, Death Stance is a perfect item to build. Cleaver 1580, again, I don't think you need the 1580 to do what Nocturne does. So I think Nocturne is perfectly fine. I'm going to put Nocturne, I don't see, back of S tier actually. Where's S2? Back of S tier. Hecarim, again, I'm still going to leave him S tier. Probably in front of Gwen actually. I think Hecarim is just always going to be a broken champion. The main issue with Hecarim is that Shojin, you lose 20 haste from Shojin, right? But I feel like people were already not going down that train. They're kind of going Eclipse into Cleaver into what do you call it? Zeke's. And I think you can go that exact same path right now. And here's where I'm going to explain the biggest misunderstanding in the new split. So I see everyone on Twitter shitting on the Eclipse saying, oh, this item is ruined. Okay, two things. Number one is you need to think about in gold, right? So pretty much Eclipse is losing 1080, it's losing 100 gold. So that's minus 450 gold. It's pretty much getting taxed of 450 gold. I don't think it's... And on average, every item right now is getting nerfed by 300 gold. So Eclipse is only getting 150 gold nerf. If you think about it in last patch's sense, right? If you're thinking about it generally, relative to the whole game, it's only getting nerfed by 150 gold. And I think that's not too bad. I think Eclipse was very OP last split. I think it's a deserved nerf. I think actually this nerf is way too little. So I think if you're playing Shin, if you're playing Hecarim, these champions that like building Eclipse, keep building your Eclipse. I honestly think it's completely fine. I'm not sure why people think this is so big. Like, I think the 10 AD for champions like Hecarim, you don't really use it. Like, you one-shot people either way once you get haste, right? So if you're not losing that much haste you're not losing any haste from Cleaver, you're not losing any haste from Eclipse, then I don't see how it's going to affect you. The 100 gold is not going to do anything. I think it's still an insane first time spike. Jarvan, okay. This is a bit more annoying. So if you remembered, again, every class is losing one big item. One big item is getting mega nerfed. For Bruisers, it is ding 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 Sunlit Sky. That item was completely broken, completely deserved. You're losing 550 HP, using 585 haste. You're losing your passive heal by 20% on the melee. Okay, that item, not that it's gutted, but I think it's very bad now. Well, not very bad, but I think it's average or below average item, right? So I think Jarvan, the only reason it was ever good is you go Sun Sky Eclipse build. Now I'm not sure what you can go. Maybe you can go Cleaver, but I think with the 1580 nerf, you don't one-shot people anymore. So I think Jarvan's kind of stuck in that limbo spot of what he kind of was before Agrin came up with the build. It's like, I don't have damage to win early, and late game I'm not that strong, right? So he kind of isn't really fitting in anymore. So I'm actually going to put him at the back of B tier. I know it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Trundle is just C tier. This champion has never been good. I used to be a one-trick Trundle. This champion is just terrible. I think it's just a horrible champion. Like, you have nothing you can build for you to be strong. Your kit is so outdated. These item nerfs are terrible for him because the Phage passive, he was probably like the only guy that ever used the Phage passive on Stridebreaker. And now that that's gone, it's like kaboom. Titanic Hydra nerf kind of hits him a bit, not too bad, but still, these items are all not great for him. Belveth, if you watched the video I made, S tier, I think she's very strong. The nerfs don't hit her at all. I like the fact that, I think the fact that she kind of escaped with all this stuff is that Bork isn't really getting touched. Like, the 1080 nerf on Bork is honestly whatever. You can still go Sterak's on her, you can go Death Stance. Terminus nerf is completely useless. The 580, you don't use the 580. The fact that they didn't nerf the attack speed, I actually think is hilarious. But, you know, I play Belveth, so I'm happy with it. The Wit's End nerf, again, I think it's quite useless. Like, minus 5% attack speed, minus 5% MR, whatever. Don't think it affects him at all. Should I talk about Udyr here? No, I'll talk about it in tanks, actually. Next one is Volibear. So Voli is one of those champions where I think he is back of A tier. Actually, here if you know how to build them. So if you go the Sun and Sky build, which I put in my guide initially, I think it's mega outdated. Stop going that, go Iceborne Gauntlet first item. If you go Iceborne Gauntlet first item, he's strong. Like, he's very, very strong. Iceborne Gauntlet into Spirit Visage, he's very, very strong still. I'll talk more about tank items later on, but since I think Volibear is kind of a bruiser role, I thought it was good to keep him in here. So I think Volibear is fine, but just stop building Sun and Sky on him. It's terrible this patch. It was okay last patch, so I'm not flaming you for that, but this patch is terrible. Jack's jungle, I'm actually gonna put him A tier. I think he's good into a lot of these junglers up here, like Rengar, Volibear, he's going to Belveth, he's going to Kindred, who's about to, I'm going to talk about in a second. He's going to Xinjiao, who I think is not as weak as people think. So I think Jax can kind of sit in the spot. Also, Titanic Hydra not getting nerfed too hard. Shojin, good for Jax because he used spam spells, so the passive plus 10 haste is great. Stridebreaker, again, he uses Phage a bit, but I think you're mainly looking for the slow. Once you get the slow, you get the stun. Don't think you need to use Phase as much. So I think, honestly, for the first time in a long time, he's A tier. Next one is Vi. I think Vi is a bit of a weird one, because if you're not going Sundered, you have to go Cleaver. But I think the good thing about Vi, the reason why I'm going to put her A tier here, despite some controversy, because her items are getting nerfed, is that Vi doesn't actually need her first time to do damage. So the fact that gold is less efficient means you get items later, right, on most champions. Some champions, like if you're going forgot which champion I was talking about just then. If you're going like Lydia, you get your item the same time. But I think most other champions are getting their first item later. So the fact that she's still very strong without an item is kind of massive in my opinion. Next one is Rek'Sai. I think Rek'Sai can be right behind Lilia. I think Rek'Sai is strong. Stridebreaker, you don't use Phage. Cleaver, you lose a bit of damage, but Rek'Sai's high base damage. Honestly, don't see how he can be weak. The worst part about Rek'Sai is Sterak's is getting nerfed, but I think the more change is not too bad for him, and the fact that you can go Death Stance more instead of going Sterak's is quite huge. The only issue of that is you have to go Merc Boots, which means you have to pay 100 gold, but it's all good. Actually, after saying that, I've convinced myself. I'm moving Rex up to S tier. Next one is the Shyvana. I think Shyvana, I think the Shojin nerfs actually hit her unironically. If you're building AD Shyvana, Titanic is fine, Triforce is fine, but if you think about the AP nerf, item nerfs, right? I think Liandry's was massive, because her abilities scale mega hard on the AP, and the fact that she's losing that I think is very depressing. Same for Blackfire Torch, you can't rebuild that anymore. Zonya's, since you're losing so much AP on items, I think she's just terrible. Not terrible, but she's not S tier like she used to be. She's like bottom of A tier, close to B tier. Next one, Master Yi. Okay. Let me explain first. I think Master Yi is good, right? Because his items aren't really getting touched. Like Death Stance, Bork, Terminus if you build it, Witsend if you build it, IE plus 200 gold, who cares? You know what I'm saying? And even if you're going Collector, again, who cares? 200 gold to the Fatty, who cares? You know? So I actually think Master Yi is S tier, by the way. And also, okay, before you guys flame, the reason I'm saying he's S tier is because Lethal Tempo is actually going to be good on him. I think it's very good if you auto a lot. And the Gunsu's, did I have Gunsu's nerf here? Yeah, the Gunsu's nerf is useless for him, by the way. He will just keep building it. It's like so good for him. So he can build Rageblade and Bork and pretty much not have been nerfed at all. And he's getting Lethal Tempo. Wallahi fam, he's going to be broken. Lee Sin, I think, honestly, Lee Sin, you can put B tier. It's like right behind Nidalee. I think he's a decent champion. Not the best, because Cleaver's losing some damage. But again, actually, I'm going to put him in front of Jax, because his base damage is too high. Like, if you're playing a champion where you have high base damage, you're always going to be good this patch. Also, Eclipse nerf doesn't really affect him. You guys can say what you want. Sun and Sky nerf hurts, but you don't have to go Sun and Sky anymore. You can do... Probably the pathing of the build I would go is Sundered, Cleaver into Sterak's. Because since Sterak's health scaling is getting nerfed, I feel like it's more you're open to go more AD heavy carries now with Sterak's. So I kind of like that chemistry with Lee Sin. Also, you can go Death Stance if you want to. Okay, great. I'm just going to pull these up now, so I have to click on them one by one. So these are the main ones that I want to talk about here. Wukong as well. Okay, so just on these 4 champions, Graves, Shin, Viego, Kindred. There's a lot to unpack here, so you have to bear with me. Graves. I think Graves has never been a great champion this year. I think that trend's going to continue. I think his items aren't getting hit too hard though, so I'm not going to put him back of B tier. I think it's going to be top of B tier. If you can play Graves, you're going to do good on him. Some of this guy's getting nerfed, but it's whatever. Like I didn't think that build was too good after they fixed the bug anyway. So I'm going to put Graves top of B tier. The Cleaver nerfs, again, I don't think he scales that much off like individual AD. Like 1580 doesn't really end his world, but I just think the champion, like if you look at these champions, Hecarim, Belveth, Nocturne, Rek'Sai, Master Yi, they're all going to Graves. Like that's the issue. Like Graves is a decent champion, just not against the meta champions, which are the ones up here, right? So I cannot in good conscience put him up there. Shin, let me take a sip of water. Okay, so Shin. A lot of you are going to be thinking, oh, it's over. They're nerfing Sterak's, they're nerfing Titanic, they're nerfing Eclipse, they're nerfing Sundered. The only actual nerf on Shin, in my opinion, is Sundered and what's it called? Sundered and Sterak's. Sterak's nerf sucks because you can't just stack HP now, right? Because the Sterak's nerf is that you're losing 20% of your bonus HP, right? Then you can't stack as much HP, but I don't see why you can't stack it at all. So the pathing, the build I'll probably go, and this sounds pretty crazy, but I think it could work, is you go Eclipse, Titanic, into Sundered. So you have insane one-shot potential, you can insta-cast your Q, you're going to be strong early, you're going to be strong, very strong mid-game, and late game you're tanky as hell. Don't see how this doesn't work, so I'm going to put him right behind Lilia. I think he's that strong. Also, I think he's like good into a few of these champions. Like I think he's good to Belveth and he's good to Lydia and those AP champions, right? Which a lot of people are playing nowadays. So I think he's going to be in a decent spot. Viego, okay, this one is annoying. I genuinely think Viego is A tier, despite like people think he's a trash champ. I think the reason people kind of struggled on it was that they were building Kraken. Now that Kraken is completely gutted, I think it's actually a buff for him because people are going to stop troll building Kraken. They're going to build Bork into Titanic into probably Sterak's, which I think is the optimal build, and I think it's actually going to work out for him. Bork getting there for 1080, it's whatever. You're mainly looking for the passive, and you're going to get a lot of damage off with Titanic. So I think now that Kraken is getting nerfed, people aren't really going to fall for that trap of building it. So he's actually going to be strong. Okay, now for my... Okay, this is only most broken champion out of Bruisers if you can play it, by the way. So don't all go rushing playing it and blame me. Oh, why is it not working? Kindred is OP if you can play it. Few reasons. I'll give you 3 reasons why. Number 1, her items are not getting touched. Terminus, if you're going the Terminus path, Terminus is not getting touched. If you're going the IE path, you're only getting 200 gold. It's whatever. Shield Bow is completely untouched, by the way, so that's good for her as well. Kraken sucks, but you can go Bork, so that's good. So that's the second reason, right? Third reason, she doesn't need an item to do damage, right? So she's good in that regard, where since the same reason as I explained before, right? Gold is less efficient, she's going to be stronger. Other thing on Kindred, and the games are going to be slowed down. Like that's right in intention with these changes, is to slow games down. So games are going to go on for longer. When the game goes on for longer, it means you get to collect stacks for longer. This is just like intuition, right? Because you might not get stacks right away, right? Let's say if you're in a losing game state, you might not get stacks then. But eventually, there's going to be some gaps where you can abuse and get stacks. That's always how you play Kindred. I used to be an OTP. I know this champion inside out. Trust me when I say it. That's how it works, okay? I think he's honestly stronger than, and I also think against Belveth, skill matchup. Against Hecarim, you win on Kindred. Against Nocturne, it kind of sucks. Against Rek'Sai, kind of sucks. But then look at the other champions. Lilia, she's good at against. Volibear, she's good against. Viego, she's good against. Vi, she's good against. You know, it's like all these AS tier champions she's just decent against. So I think she's just really up there. But she does have some bad matchups. So actually, I should probably move her down here. But I think if you can play her, I think Kindred's one of the champions. If you can play, bad matchups don't matter. Wukong, I don't know. I think you either go used to in solo queue, you either go Profane or you go Sundered. And both of them are terrible now. So I just think I'm putting below Jarvan. I think he's worse than Jarvan. Like, you could go Triforce, right? The Triforce changes aren't that bad. So if you're going Triforce, maybe I'll move him up here. But I don't know. I still think he's not the best. I mean, I guess the good thing about Wukong is you don't really need items to succeed, right? So I guess this is a fair spot. And the two I had left were Warwick and Olaf. So Warwick, not the best, not the worst. It's kind of just in that limbo state. I think the issue of Warwick isn't the items, it's more the champion kit. I think it's very outdated. It's kind of like Trundle, so I'll put him end of B tier. I mean, in low elo, he could be A tier, but when people know how to play, I think it's very easy to play into work. You just keep your distance, you know where he is, you track him, and he's a terrible champion. Olaf, I honestly think he's kind of in a similar spot. I mean, I would move him up here. The only reason being you don't really need items to succeed on Olaf, and also Olaf items aren't really getting touched that much. But I think the issues you initially had with Olaf, which were the fact that he's just outdated, like he can't run at someone and expect to kill them now when there's so many dashes. Just don't think he's that strong. There's a few AP bruises I kind of want to deal with here now that I'm at it. So I don't talk about them in the tank section or whatever. Okay. Rumble. C tier champion. Reason is what's it called? I lost its name now. Liandry's. The 20 AP nerf actually hits him hard. The reason being he actually needs the Liandry's AP damage to succeed. Like, he's one of the only champions in the game where if you lose the AP damage on your items, it actually hits him hard. Like, the other champions don't care. Like, Lilia doesn't care. But Rumble, not having that 20 AP, then not having the 15 AP from Zhonya's is completely massive. Like, losing raw AP damage on Rumble is terrible. Because the reason Rumble works is you can build a lot of raw AP and you have pen from your E. If you have no raw AP, your champion doesn't work. So the reduction in raw AP just hits him way too hard. And also, we haven't talked about it yet, but tanks are going to get armor and magic resist buffs. So if you're getting magic resist buff and you don't do enough raw, like, he's just terrible. Udyr, honestly, this champion is S tier. I'll explain why in a second a bit more, but Liandry's nerf doesn't hit him. 20 AP he doesn't care about. He cares about the burn. Same reasoning as Lilia. Tank items are getting buffed. Udyr is going to be eating all split unless they nerf him. And he's easy to play. So I think he is probably the best jungler to play right now in solo queue. Gragas, I mean, I should put him C tier because Lich Bane is getting nerfed, but I'll put him here just because I feel nice. Like, he honestly should be just ahead of Rumble, but Lich Bane is getting nerfed. I guess you can go other builds on, like, maybe you can go. I've seen some people go Pro Belt first. I haven't tried myself, so I don't want to speak on it too much, but I can't imagine it being too good. Okay, so for the big tanks, I think they're A plus. What Riot targeted for tanks is they're trading HP, so they're taking away your HP, they're giving you armor and magic resist. The only item they're not doing that in is Jack Show. They're taking away your armor and magic resist, but giving you 50 HP. Doesn't make sense to me, but pretty much in the meta where every class is getting nerfed, like Assassins, you saw Mages, you saw Bruisers, all of them are getting nerfed. Tanks are pretty much staying the exact same. They're just losing HP, but getting armor and magic resist. Okay, so that's why I think Udyr is S tier, right? Because it doesn't get hit by Liandry's, doesn't get hit by tank nerfs, and he was already S tier before, so how is he not probably one of the strongest champions out there right now, right? First one it's kind of hard to talk about is Maokai. I think this champion is never good in solo queue, unless when it was other than when it was completely broken and you built AP. I think he's always going to be C tier. The fact that Leandri's is getting nerfed doesn't hit him too hard. It's completely fine, right? But I mean, he's just never going to be a good champion, Soki. You don't clear fast enough. You don't carry hard enough. I think he's worse than Gragas. I mean, they're pretty even, to be fair, but he's not a good champ. Okay, now... Sorry. Sorry, bless me. Okay, the champion that is kind of the weirdest to talk about now is Skarner, because everyone, again, on Twitter is saying Skarner is terrible, whatever, because they're taking away HP and they give you armor and MR. But if you honestly think about it, Skarner's build is quite standard. You go Hot Steel first item, you go Sterak second, you go Jack Show or whatever, or Unending Despair, or Spirit Visage, right? You go those three in whichever order. Sterak's losing 20% HP shield from the shield sucks. I agree, but that's not, if that's the only thing Skarner is getting hit by, not too bad, right? Jack Show nerf, sure, you're getting 50 HP. It's better for you. So it's a buff actually. For the Spirit Visage one, I think is a joke. I thought it was like, oh wait, I don't have it here, but they're pretty much, again, they're not nerfing anything from it. Okay, here it is actually. They're losing 50 HP, losing 10 MR. That's nothing. They had to nerf the passive for it to be an actual nerf. I think Spirit Visage was a completely broken item last split. Not sure why they're not nerfing it, so I mean, it's just a massive win for Skarner. Unending Despair, losing 50 HP, gaining 5 armor. I guess it sucks because you don't get the health scaling on your damage, but again, 50 HP doesn't really matter. The main thing I want to point at here is the Hot Steel nerf. It's completely useless on Skarner, and that's the reason why he was strong. Until they fix that interaction, I don't see how Skarner is not S tier. Oh, I'm going to put the updated Skarner. So I'm going to put him just above Kindred because I think he's easier to play. So I'm going to put him there. Okay, Shen Jungle. I'm going to give a shout out to my boy Raw Image. In the Discord, by the way, if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord right now. You can ask me any questions. You can ask me you can pay me for coaching. You can ask me, you can talk about life. You can talk about anything you want. Raw Image, I know you love your Shen Jungle, but he's B tier. I mean, they didn't hit him too hard. You can go Sunfire. You do. The thing is, tanks are actually better junglers now because if you might not see it, actually you do see it here. I remember I put it in. So if you look at items like Sunfire, you're getting 100. They have this new passive where you're doing 150% of your passive burn damage to monsters now. So that's huge. They're also doing it for, I believe, Hollow Radiance. Yeah, so Hollow Radiance, same thing. They're giving damage to monsters. So these tank junglers that weren't that meta, they're going to start being decent. Sejuani kind of in the same boat. So I put Sejuani A tier just because I feel like he's a better solo queue jungler than Shen. I think Shen, you don't really have much many ganking options before you have ult. So it kind of sucks in that regard. Amumu, I think he's S tier, man. Unending Despair, not really nerfed. Spirit Visage, not really nerfed. Kane Rukken, not really nerfed. You know, Leandri's 20 AP, who cares? He wants to burn. He doesn't play it for the AP. So I think Amumu is S tier. Dude, Yi and Amumu in S tier is crazy, but guys, there's reasoning, you know? Zac, I think this champion's always been broken. Like, I'm just gonna put him here. I think Leandri's nerf, again, it sucks a bit, but he was one-shotting everyone without Leandri, so it doesn't really matter. Sunfire buff is great for him. I think Spirit Visage not being nerfed too hard is great for him. So I think those 3 items means he's very good. The only reason I'm not putting him S tier is because one of the core items he used to build, which is Abyssal Moss, if you look here, you don't get the passive, which is if you, like, you know how you curse people with Abyssal Moss? You don't get MR from cursing people anymore. So that kind of sucks. But other than that, I mean, he's not really getting hit at all. Nunu, he's always going to be A tier. I'll put him right here. I mean, the Leandri's nerf doesn't hit him too hard. I think like the AP, sure it sucks, right? But if you look at the other items, he's kind of getting compensated. Spirit Visage is not getting hit at all. Well, it's not getting hit too hard. You can build Knight's Vow 2 now. It's only 100 gold more expensive. Yep, right here. I put it in there. I was worried I didn't. Frozen Heart. Randy wins. I think all tank items aren't really getting touch, so I don't see how he is an S tier, A tier when all the other classes are getting nerfed. I mean, you lose a bit of AP scaling, so I think if you're going AP Nunu, he'd be like B tier, but if you're going normal Nunu build, then he's for sure A tier. Mundo, I'm gonna put him kind of where I always thought he'd be. I thought he was like last split, A tier. I think he's strong if you're allowed to scale, and I think now you're allowed to scale more. Also, actually, I'm gonna put him high on A tier. I'm gonna put him right behind Fiddlesticks. The reason is 3 reasons. You get to scale a lot more. First, that's first reason. Second reason, hot seal is not nerfed. You can stack HP still, so that's fine. You can build Sunfire. You get the benefit from Sunfire. You get the benefit from Hollow Radiance. And the third thing is that you don't need your first item to be strong on Mundo. Sure, it's great to have the hot seal, but you don't need it. You still do damage. You take objectives quickly. You farm quickly. You can get your team objectives. Don't see how it's bad, you know. Poppy, I'm gonna put him C. I'm just like, the thing is, it's hard to rate Poppy because these items like don't really touch him at all. But he's just not that good of a champion unless you're counterpicking. So if you're picking into Bel'Veth, it can be A tier. If you're picking into Kindred, it's A tier. But if you're not, it's like I don't know. It's like very weird champion to very weird champion. Actually, I'm gonna make another tier called situational, because there's a champion coming up that I think is the exact same. So Poppy, I think is situational. Rammus, exact same thing. I think he's not the best champ. I put him B tier, but I just don't. I mean, the Thorn Mail nerfs actually hits him a bit, right? Because they reduce. Where is it? So they're reducing 5% base armor scale, 10% on the damage. So that kind of sucks. Like, so if it doesn't scale that well with armor anymore by 10%. But I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, considering how hard AP and Assassins are getting hit, it doesn't really mean much in my opinion. Like, it's a very small issue. Okay, there's some champions I forgot to put in, some champions I intentionally left out. One champion intentionally left out, Ivern. Honestly, enchanted items are like getting buffed. I don't know what the hell was going on in the Riot headquarters, but Ivern did kind of take a hit last patch. So I wouldn't put him S plus tier, but I think he's definitely top of S tier. Enchanter items, the ones that he uses, they're just not really getting touched. They're not getting touched that affects him, right? So I think he's going to be here. He's going to be ahead of Skarner. I mean, he also counters Skarner. Not that it matters, but I think he's quite good here in this patch. He's always going to be strong in solo queue. You're just like, the thing about Ivern is you clear in 3 minutes. You do your first clear in 3 minutes. You can perma gank. You don't need to clear your camps. It's just so OP in solo queue, right? When people don't respect. Mordekaiser, I think it's situational. His items are getting hit a bit, but I mean, he's always gonna he doesn't need AP to do his damage. He doesn't. Tank items are fine for him. Teemo is D tier. People in my chat keep asking for some reason. Stop it. The champion is terrible. Stop asking me to play it. I'm kidding. You can ask me to play it, but I won't play it. Evelyn, D tier. Lichbane getting. Actually, I put him C tier. I mean, it actually has to be ahead of Malk. I put him B tier, end of B tier. Lichbane getting nerfed is terrible for him. He was top of B tier. I'm going to move him to down. But I can't put him... Actually, I just put him in front of C. Have I covered everything? Yeah. Well, that's about it. Okay, sorry this video was kind of made scuffed. I have had no internet. I've been busy with IRL stuff. I was going to split into 2 videos, but didn't have the time. This is probably going to be quite roughly edited as well. So please bear with me. I'll be back to making good quality content. If you thought my content was good before, I don't know if it was. It's going to be better though. I'm going to improve every time. So if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. Even if you just say good job in the comments, it helps with the engagement. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe. Haven't watched me on Twitch before? Watch me on Twitch. I'd love to see you there. Especially if you tell me you're from YouTube. It's always cool seeing someone say that. If you haven't joined the Discord yet, I urge you to join it. You can always ask me questions there. I'm pretty much there 24/7. And if you just want to have a good time, the people in there are very nice. Like, it's an insanely good community, and nobody judges anyone. So that's great. It's called the Temple because we all have monk mental. Anyways, appreciate you guys all for tuning in, and I'll see you the next time. I'll see you will be at my new place. Say goodbye to your favorite wall, guys. Peace. We're out of here.